All right, let's talk about something we've all felt. Your brain gets stuck in overdrive, and you just can't seem to shut it off. Today, we're going to dive into the actual science behind why that happens.
You know the feeling, right? It's 3 in the morning, you're just staring at the ceiling, and your mind is just racing. You know you should be asleep, but nope. Your brain's decided it's the perfect time to play a highlight reel of every single awkward thing you've ever said. So why? Why does this happen? It's such a familiar pattern, isn't it? You're replaying that one conversation from yesterday over and over and over. Or maybe you're building these incredibly detailed worst-case scenarios about the future. You're just stuck in this loop, right? Cycling through the same worries, getting absolutely nowhere. Well, it turns out there's a very specific network in your brain that's actually driving all of this.
Okay, let's get into the science here. For the longest time, researchers pretty much thought that a brain at rest was, well, just resting. Makes sense, right? But then, with modern brain imaging, they kind of stumbled onto something huge. They found that when we're supposedly doing nothing, parts of our brain are actually lighting up like a Christmas tree. They discovered this hidden network that just springs to life.
And they called it the default mode network, or DMN for short. You can kind of think of it like your brain's screensaver. But, instead of flying toasters, it's this incredibly powerful system that links up a bunch of different brain areas. It kicks into gear the moment you stop focusing on the outside world and your attention turns inward.
And look, this network isn't a bad thing. It does some absolutely crucial work. This is the part of your brain that's pulling up old memories, imagining what might happen tomorrow, and even thinking about who you are as a person. It's how you try to guess what other people are thinking or feeling. It's the source of all our daydreams, our mind-wandering. It's basically your brain's built-in storyteller and future simulator.
So what's fascinating is how your brain juggles all this. It basically has two main modes that work like a seesaw. They're what scientists call anti-correlated, which just means when one is on, the other is usually off. On one side, you've got the task-positive network. That's what you're using right now to listen to me, or when you're solving a puzzle. You're focused on the outside world. On the other side is that default mode network we just talked about, for when your mind turns inward. And, in a healthy brain, you're constantly, fluidly switching back and forth between the two.
But what happens when that seesaw gets stuck? What happens when that internal network, the DMN, just refuses to quiet down? When your brain's rest mode is anything but restful?
And yeah, this is really the heart of the problem we're talking about. It seems that for some people, especially those dealing with things like anxiety and depression, the default mode network doesn't just turn on when they're daydreaming. It gets stuck. It's like the on switch is jammed.
What the research shows is that in conditions like major depression, the different parts of this network can become what's called hyper-connected. The wiring between them just gets too strong. And that creates this really powerful, self-focused thought loop that is incredibly hard to break out of. This is literally the brain basis for that feeling of being trapped inside your own head.
And this image, wow, it just shows you exactly what that hyperconnectivity looks like. These are brain scans from a landmark study. Now look at the top image. That's the DMN activity in a healthy brain at rest. Pretty standard. Now look at the bottom one. That's the brain of someone with major depression. Just look at the difference. The activity is so much brighter, so much more connected. That is a brain in total overdrive, even when it's supposed to be resting.
But here's where it gets really interesting. That same study found something amazing. They saw that for the people with depression, that intense DMN activity, the stuff that was so high when they were resting, it dropped way down when they were given a demanding task to do. So what does that tell us? It means that giving your brain something external to focus on, something challenging, can actually break that cycle. It forces the brain to switch out of that stuck default mode and back into task mode.
So this brain hyperactivity, it isn't just random static. No, it creates a very specific and often destructive type of thinking. And it has a name, rumination.
Now, the key thing to understand about rumination is that it feels like you're trying to solve a problem, but you're not. It's not problem solving, it's just getting stuck. You're passively going over and over and over what's wrong, why it's wrong, what the consequences are, but you never actually move toward a solution. It's the absolute definition of spinning your wheels in the mud. And scientists have actually pinpointed where this is happening in the brain. That same study found a direct link. They saw that the stronger the connection between two specific parts of the DMN, the posterior cingulate cortex and the subgenual cingulate cortex, the more a person reported ruminating. It's a direct correlation. A stronger connection in the brain meant more of those obsessive, looping thoughts.
Okay, but here's a really, really important distinction they made. That brain hyperconnectivity was linked specifically to what they called brooding. That passive, negative, why is this happening to me kind of thinking. What it did not link to was productive self-reflection, the kind of thinking that's more like, okay, what can I do about this? This is huge because it tells us that not all self-reflection is the same. Our brain has different ways of thinking about ourselves, and only one of them seems to be tied to this runaway network.
So you might be thinking, if this whole DMN thing can cause so much pain, why on earth do we even have it? Well, to answer that, we have to look way, way back into our evolutionary history.
Think about it. For our ancient ancestors, the ability to mentally check out from the present moment was a superpower. It let you remember past dangers, don't eat those red berries, and plan for the future. We need to store food for the winter. This default mode network was basically a powerful mental simulator. It let you game out survival scenarios to learn from your mistakes and anticipate threats, all without having to actually fight a saber-toothed tiger. That's a huge advantage.
So here's the problem. We're running that ancient survival hardware on a modern world's operating system. Our brains evolved to solve very concrete, immediate problems, right? Where's the food? How do I not get eaten? But today, that powerful simulator gets hijacked by these abstract, often unsolvable modern anxieties. Worries about our career path, our social status, our purpose in life. The threat isn't a tiger in the bushes anymore. It's a vague, nagging feeling of dread. And our poor simulator just keeps running and running and running, desperately trying to find a solution that might not even exist.
So when you put it all together, the big takeaway here is that feeling of being stuck in your head, it's not some kind of personal failing. It's not a weakness. It's a feature of your brain's wiring, an ancient survival tool that's just struggling to deal with the complexities of the modern world. It's a network that can and does go into overdrive. And that really leaves us with the most important question of all, doesn't it? If we know all this, if we know our brain's ancient simulator is stuck on modern worries, how do we learn to change the channel?